More than 1 million people, including their families, have come to the UK on foreign student visas since January 2021. Not everyone goes home when their visa expires, including Danabal from India. Was it always your intention that you wouldn't actually be a student? It was just a way of getting a visa?
This is the only reason for that. I just want to save my life.
But you didn't ever plan to be a student?
No.
Determined to get to the UK and stay, Danabal says his politics got him into trouble with the Indian police, so he paid an agency there £7,000 to arrange a university place in Britain. He ended up on a course in the north of England, but says he only stayed a month.
I just thought that, okay, this is the only way I can get through, but I didn't know about other options, so that's why I just used this.
We've met Danabal in Sheffield, but he moves around the country, his life undocumented, relying on cash-in-hand jobs to survive because his student visa has expired.
I'm doing garden cleaning today.
Garden cleaning?
Yeah.
And do they pay you?
No, they didn't pay me. They left this class today.
This is another visa overstayer, Suresh, also from India. He says he's been given clothes for doing someone's garden in London. He says he didn't even start his course in Wales. He spent 7 years just existing like this since his student visa ran out.
I don't want to continue studies. I don't want to go college. So that's why, actually, I tried many countries, not only UK. So suddenly I got visa from UK, so that's why I came.
The body which represents universities in the UK says targets set by the government for course completion and enrolment by international students are currently being met. Most students who finish their studies go home, but it's been 3 years since the last data was released on those who overstay their visas. In the year to March 2020, thousands of students were among the 83,000 people who came on work, student, tourist and family visas with no record of leaving Britain. We asked the Home Office for more up-to-date figures, but they said none are available, which means we have no way of knowing exactly how many people came to the UK over the last 3 years on these kinds of visas and failed to leave the country when their visa expired.
I don't think they're in control, to be honest. They think they have a control, but I don't think so.
It's just good to know that the government's doing what they should be doing and that, we know how many people are actually in this country.
If they say that they don't know, yes, it would be surprising.
But in East London, an insight into the scale of visa overstayers from those being asked for help.
It is a significant problem at this moment.
Immigration solicitor Vasuki Murahathas says calls are up 50% over the past 12 months, and she has a damning indictment of the mechanisms in place to find and send overstayers back.
The immigration system is really collapsed. They are not keeping up to date. Some people, they are coming knowingly that they can overstay and no one can do anything.
The Home Office has warned those who overstay they have no right to remain and says they should be in no doubt of the government's determination to remove them. Lisa Holland, Sky News.
Well, our chief political correspondent, John Craig, joins us now. So, John, as Lisa laid out in that package, there's an issue here for the government and the Home Office. What are they intending to do about it?
The government would argue they're already taking action. The Home Secretary, as we know, is desperate to get net migration down. The fears are that it's up round about the 700,000 mark. And one point under David Cameron, as I recall, he was talking about getting it down into below 100,000.
Tens of thousands.
Tens of thousands was the phrase he used. Yeah, that was that's a long way off now. Now, late May, the Home Secretary announced a statement in Parliament in which she announced some measures to address this. I mean, there's just more figures. I mean, the student visas are up from 269,000 in 2019 to 486,000. And, of course, dependence. One of the things the government wants to crack down on is dependence of students. Those numbers are up from a mere 16,000 in 2019 to 136,000. So what Suella Braverman is proposing, measures to come in next year, a 6-point plan, removing the right of international students to bring their dependents unless they're on postgraduate courses, currently designated as research, removing the ability for international students to switch from students to work before their studies have completed, which might address the problems that Lisa was talking about, reviewing maintenance requirements for students and dependents, clamping down on unscrupulous education agents, the government calls them, who may be supporting inappropriate applications to sell immigration, not education, and proper targeted enforcement activity. Now, the enforcement activity doesn't seem to be working. Many, as we've heard, seem to be slipping through the net. But, of course, it's a big problem for the government as they try and get those net migration numbers down. That's as well as the problem of stopping the illegal migration.
Well, of course, and this is the essentially illegal migration. These guys came on student visas, they've overstayed it, so they're abusing the system in that respect. But the government are also trying to deal with illegal migration, as you mentioned, and they had a big plan to put people on barges.
Well, one particular barge that's attracted a lot of attention is the Bibby Stockholm down at Portland, criticised by local MPs. One local MP down there, Chris Loder, West Dorset, been demanding a risk assessment for weeks. And it seems as though that is holding everything up, because in the last hour, we have heard from government sources that the Bibby Stockholm will not now be taking new arrivals tomorrow. Now, they were talking about at the end of July a few days ago. That was yesterday. Looks like next week now. The sources are telling us it could be next week. The council's guidance, the local council, they don't want new services beginning on a Thursday or a Friday close to the weekend. Not quite sure the reason for that. The delay, according to the government sources, is because working practices for port workers have to be signed off for the Health and Safety Executive. There are no fire safety issues. Now, the government was talking yesterday about fire checks, but it all seems a bit chaotic and bureaucratic. Health and safety, as they say.
Absolutely. It's taken, as you know, weeks and months for this thing to arrive, so you would have thought they had those things signed off, but
obviously not.
We'll find out when they do. John, thank you very much for that. Now,